I want to remind you to comment on this video, click the YouTube video, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. It helps support the channel a lot, but it also helps me understand what your thoughts on this video are. Today we have this crazy video of a state representative out of Tennessee, Justin Jones, commenting on the situation in Tennessee where the new redistricting map is going to remove the only blue House seat that Tennessee has. Now, let me remind you guys, the current situation in Tennessee is that this new blue House seat, that's the only one in Tennessee, is going to be removed. Republicans are doing this because states like Massachusetts, for example, have been fully blue. Massachusetts is fully blue. There's not one Republican seat. The entire New England is fully blue, even though Massachusetts is more red than Tennessee is blue. So take a look at this video. It also includes some clips of what Martin Luther King Jr.'s son had to say about this situation. So let's see.
Good morning. It's Sunday, May 10th. I'm Antonia Hilton, in for my friend Ali Velshi. 1 week after the U.S. Supreme Court effectively gutted the Voting Rights Act, Tennessee on Thursday became the first state to pass new congressional maps, dismantling the state's only majority black congressional district in the Memphis area. To do it, state Republicans first had to repeal a 56-year-old law prohibiting mid-cycle redistricting, allowing them to adopt the new maps 4 years before the next mandated census, effectively bypassing the traditional 10-year waiting period. On Wednesday, Republicans unveiled the new maps. Memphis, which previously was in Tennessee's 9th congressional district, which you can see on the left, has been carved into 3 districts, a community more than 60% black has been sliced and stretched into surrounding white rural counties.
Okay, so there's multiple ways we can look at this. We could look at this through the lens that this MSNOW anchor and Democrats in general are trying to look at this, through a racial lens. And a racial lens would tell us that Republicans are doing this for racial reasons. They're doing this to suppress the minority black vote. That is not at all what's happening here. What's happening here is that Republicans, to keep themselves in power, to increase the amount of House seats that they have, the amount of representative seats that they have, they are trying to dilute the blue vote into the red districts so they gain the red vote in whatever district this is. So there are political reasons for this, not racial reasons. That's why this has nothing to do with race. This has nothing to do with the race, the color of someone's skin. This has everything to do with the party and political orientation of certain places. And just because Memphis is 60% black, it doesn't mean that this is being done for racial reasons. It's being done for political gain, not for race. No one cares about race. They're looking at politics.
Each designed to elect a Republican. Martin Luther King III sent a letter to Tennessee lawmakers imploring them not to pass these maps. This decision undermines the work that my father, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., carried out to help secure passage of the Voting Rights Act.
Martin Luther King III himself is a Nepo baby. He undermines the work his father has done. He himself is always on MSNOW. He appears on MSNOW. He's a leftist. He supports affirmative action policies. He supports DEI. He undermines the work his father has done. And the fact that he is being used as a representation of Martin Luther King Jr.'s work, his father's work, is just crazy.
Do not dismantle the only congressional district that provides black voters in Memphis a fair opportunity to have a voice in our democracy. Do not take this nation back to the days of Jim Crow, he said. On Thursday, the legislature passed the maps anyway. What happened next looked a lot less like a regular legislative session, more like a civil rights turning point, the stuff of our history books.
Oh my God.
As the final vote approached, Democratic senators linked arms on the floor, a flashback to the marchers who came before them.
This is a joke. You can't compare this to the civil rights movement. I mean, how can you compare this? Like, I can't believe this is being, like, aired on national TV again. Like, how can you compare the current situation, everything going on right now, the redistricting battle that both the left and the right are doing, to Jim Crow 2.0. I mean, what is this?
Hundreds of protesters flooded the state capitol, marching through its halls, carrying signs. Senator Charlene Oliver stood up on a table and held up a white sheet reading, "No Jim Crow 2.0, stop the Tennessee steal."
Oh.
Security tore it from her hands. Oliver clapped.
Obviously, when you stand up on a table and when you use a bed sheet and write, I don't even know what you wrote. No Jim Crow 2.0. Obviously, you're going to be ripped. It's going to be torn down by security. That's not how a House proceeding should go to. You don't get to make a mockery out of a House proceeding just because you don't like what the House is ruling.
And stomped in protest. Republican lawmakers laughed. Representative Jones later joined protesters outside and burned a paper printout of the Confederate flag. This in the state where the Ku Klux Klan was born.
Oh my God.
Governor Bill Lee approved the maps the same day. State Republican leaders
She looks like
called
she's
it
about
an
to
effort
cry.
to modernize redistricting by removing racial data from consideration. Democratic State Senator London Lamar, who represents Memphis, wasn't buying it.
You cannot take a majority black city, fracture its voting power, and then tell us race has nothing to do with it.
How about to like a majority white city? Would that be racist too? How about to, I don't know, a city that has a more LGBTQ population or whatever? How about if a city had more old people? Would that be like age shaming or whatever? Obviously not. You can divide Americans by so many things. It doesn't only have to be based off race, based off the color of someone's skin. It could be based off religion. It could be based off any other form that you can divide Americans by. Does it mean that the action, though, was because of it? Or does it mean that the action is because of the political orientation of those people? When you look at Memphis, it's more than 60% Democrat. It's like 82% Democrat. So when you look at a city that's 82% Democrat, yeah, it's more likely to be divided based off political reasons rather than race.
Racism does not become less racist because it's called partisan.
What?
The gravity of this moment cannot be understood without knowing history. If you want to understand today's fight for American democracy, Tennessee is ground zero, where the story of American democracy keeps being rewritten in blood, in law, and in protest. It was back in 1865 when the Ku Klux Klan was founded in a law office out of Pulaski, Tennessee. In 1884, Ida B. Wells, renowned black journalist and activist, was forcibly removed from a train in Shelby County for refusing to give up her seat to a white passenger, some 71 years before Rosa Parks would, of course, do the same thing.
Okay, I'll skip a little bit just because this video is long, but in general, my thoughts here are that you can look at the world through different ways. You can look at it through race. Clearly, the Democrats look at the world through race. They're racist. They look at the world through race. They care about race. If you're a normal, everyday American, you're not looking at the world through race. You're looking at the world through the eyes of someone who cares about politics, who cares about policy, who cares about everything else other than race. So that is how you look at the world. These people are so deranged, disengaged from, modern day society that the Democrats aren't going to understand this. Now, look, is it true that the Tennessee congressional map will split up the Memphis vote into 3 different congressional districts where the blue vote is going to be diluted? Of course that's true. But just because the outcome is race is going to be diluted, it does not mean that the intention there was to be racist. And we can't look at the world through just outcome. We can't look at the world through equity. If we look at the world through equity, that would mean that the outcome is always the same, that the outcome between different racial groups is always the same. That's obviously not true, and it's not how we can look through the world. If we look at equality, where everyone gets an equal standing, that's how we should look at the world. We should look at the world through an equality sense view. And through then, the vote is not being diluted at all, because everyone in Tennessee still gets the same voting power regardless of the district. And it's, again, the intention here had nothing to do with race. It's politics, and no one can deny that. I mean, Tennessee is redistricting now particularly because of political reasons, not because of racial reasons, not because of any other like uptick in racism.
Wells' act of defiance spurred a lifetime of activists to the polls and cast their votes on those maps, and where the state's Supreme Court has now thrown those results out. Think about what we're being asked to accept. Keep finding their way back. Played the clip moments ago. Tell Representative Chisholm that he had no idea Memphis was majority black city. Just hadn't had a chance to take a look at the demographic data.
It's not even majority black by a
You
lot.
know,
It's like
as a journalist
60%.
who spent a lot of time in Memphis, you can spend about 5 minutes there after you land at the airport, and you know that this is a majority black community, a black-led city.
What is that supposed to mean?
What did you make of that moment?
I mean, it's insulting. Representative Lambert, the Republican majority leader, is one of the most racist and vitriolic members of our legislature. He is somebody who has called me boy, and, you know, as a member and as his colleague. And we know that they see race because they have been so intent on silencing black voices. 1 in 5 black Tennesseans cannot vote because of felony disenfranchisement. They're perfectly okay with seeing race when it's about resegregating our schools and defunding our public education system.
Oh my God.
Trafficking black.
Okay, so this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. The public education system battle is centered on a very clear issue that the public school education system right now is very bad. It is extremely bad, especially in places like Memphis, where school choice is the only option for black kids, for white kids, for old kids to get a proper education because the public school education system is terrible. Now, we could either keep on pumping money into a system that doesn't work, or we can privatize that system. We can encourage school choice centered systems, charter school based systems, where someone can allocate money, where parents can allocate money towards a private or a charter school and have their money into those systems. Is that racism? No, it's common sense. Like, why is everything viewed for race?
Bodies.
In fact, just one more point here. In fact, in New York, we have the Success Academy charter school system in New York City, where in New York City, the Success Academy system, which is 97% minority, it has a pass rate and a pass rate for both math and English of approximately 98%, which means that 98% are passing like the standardized exams that they're taking. Compared to the public school counterparts in those same neighborhoods, that pass rate sits around 49%. And obviously, Success Academy is given significantly less funding than their public school counterparts. So this model works. It works better for minorities. It's one of the best ways for issues like cultural issues among minority groups that have a cultural issue, or, you know, whether it's single households where a family is only reliant on one parent figure, or whether it's graduation rates that are the issue. Charter schools have been proven to decrease that, even decrease crime.
Through their private prison system, as we saw here, where North Nashville was one of the most incarcerated zip codes in the nation. And so they see race, but when they say we don't see color, what they mean is they don't see colored people. They don't see black and brown people. They don't see us as their neighbors, as their fellow Tennesseans, but they want to silence us.
What?
And what they've done is they've created majority white districts. Every district now in Tennessee will be a majority white district. Memphis will be connected to a congressional district that is over 300 miles away. They knew.
Okay, this is very dangerous rhetoric. This is going to start getting into the topic of, oh, every district in Texas is majority Christian. Why don't we create 50% majority Muslim districts, or majority Jewish districts, majority Hindu districts? Like, you understand, we could divide every group based off so many things. There's multiple issues of persecution. Like Jews, for example, they were persecuted in Europe. They definitely did not have an easier time in Europe than African Americans had in the United States. Hindus were persecuted. Every single group of anywhere was persecuted. Irish people were persecuted. So, like, why are we dividing based off like different groups?
What they were doing. And so to Lambert, I think it's time that he needs to be honest about who he is. He's somebody who's taken off the white hood. He wears a suit, but his intentions are just the same as those who came
What a
before us,
disgusting thing
who
to
wanted
say
to
about
silence
someone.
black voice with intimidation.
Like, disgusting.
But now he's using.
This guy's comparing the House leader, the Tennessee State House leader, to the KKK. Like, that is just horrible. That is how you get people killed. That is how people get, like, Cole Allen, who shot up the the White House Association, Correspondents Association dinner. He shot that up to kill Trump administration officials and Donald Trump, obviously. And you wonder why? It's because people like this guy is trying to frame these people as ultra racist, as white supremacists, as KKK members.
The power of the law, once again, to create systems in which we are separate and unequal, in which we're treated as second-class citizens in our democracy. And he's really dismantled the whole idea. Him and that Republican caucus has dismantled the idea and the hope of.
It's very funny. MSNOW is the second most watched cable news television network in the United States currently. These are two black people. I would assume the other guy's black. I don't know. Two black people who are advocating for black people's rights on the second most watched television network, talking about how much racism we have in our country. Like,
multiracial democracy in Tennessee. They represent the Confederacy, but I come to say that we are going to fight with everything we have. I burned the Confederate flag because we've defeated them again, and we will defeat them right now.
You mentioned the echoes of history there, and Tennessee is where the Ku Klux Klan was founded, where the lunch counter protests really took off, where MLK was, of course, murdered. When you're standing in that Capitol and you're linking arms with your colleagues and you're hearing these statements, like the one
I
from
can't
Lambert
watch
that
this.
we
It's just so sad.
described, do you feel the weight of history on you there?
I think what I think about are those ancestors who walked into that building. You know, our first. We didn't get our first black congressman until the 70s. We did not, there are members who were not seated during, at the end of Reconstruction because they had this white backlash. And so what I feel is them saying that we've been here before and that the South must sound the alarm. Because it is not alarmist to say that we had a period where we had black lawmakers during Reconstruction, and then for almost 70 years, we had no one until the 1960s because they instituted policies like this to silence and dismantle black political power. And so what I feel is history saying that you must not just, look at this moment as what is happening now, but connected to a long lineage of liberation of which you are a part. This is the state where W.E.B. Du Bois was at Fisk University and says, so goes the South, as goes the nation. This is the state where Ida B. Wells said that the way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon them. This is the state where John Lewis trained in what he called good trouble. And so when you see something that is wrong, that is unjust, that is unfair, you must find a way to get in the way and get in good trouble. John Lewis and Diane Nash and Bernard Lafayette, they rose up against Jim Crow. And now it's our time to take on the children of Jim Crow, the children of Bull Connor and George Wallace, who've now taken hold of Southern legislation.
How can you compare the current situation to Jim Crow? Like, it's so racist and such a insult to the people that actually fought in the civil rights movement, to Martin Luther King, to all of the leaders who actually made an impact on our country and actually made an impact on the civil rights movement. This is so offensive to them because the current situation right now is nothing like Jim Crow 2.0. It's nothing like Jim Crow at all. Our country has never been more equal, has never been a better place, has never been colorless than it is now. It is a wonderful place no matter your race. So the fact that these people, this Tennessee state representative, an elected official in office, is being aired on national television to talk about how bad our country is for African Americans. Maybe look at yourself. Maybe look at the cultural differences of different racial groups. Maybe look at the cultural differences between Jewish people who are oppressed, who are still being oppressed with anti-Semitism through the roof right now. Look at Jewish people. Why are they so much more successful than other demographic groups? Is it because of it's a cultural issue? It has nothing to do with race.
Legislatures and southern governors' mansions. We must fight with everything we have because our children will judge us not by what we do, but by what we don't do. We must err on the side of action. And, we must put our purpose above our title and be unafraid and unintimidated.
That is literally how you get people killed. Like, err on the side of action. Like, can you hear this guy's rhetoric? Like, to someone who's, I don't know, mentally not very much there, this guy would encourage him. Like, I don't know. I at least would be encouraged by this guy to take action. And what that action would be, well, it's up to, a person to decide. Like,
what do we do if the new Jim Crow is less cross burnings, less literacy tests, and more about line drawing and claiming, oh, race has nothing to do with any of this?
It doesn't.
It can be as sophisticated and subtle as it wants. This can be the new James Crow Esquire. It can be, something that is more institutionalized, but it has the same intent. And what we must do is we must call it out for what.
If it has the same intent, then show me where it has the same intent. Show me one person who has said it has the same intent. Show me one piece of evidence that says it has the same intent without referring to the outcome, because again, the outcome doesn't have to equal the intent. The outcome can be different. The outcome doesn't have to be the same for every single group. If there's more Hindus, if there's more Jews in one certain congressional district, is that racist? No. Like, this is really pissing me off.
What it is, what we saw on Thursday was like a Klan rally. We had members who were seething and have waited decades to break up Black political representation. In Alabama, you hear them talking about, we want to go after the 14th Amendment next. They want to dismantle all the gains of the civil rights movement, of Reconstruction. And so what we must be clear about is we must call it out for what it is. This was a racial backlash. It is a form of racial terror. It is a form of dehumanization and removing representation, whether they do it with crosses and violence, or they do it with the sophistication of suits and decorum. No matter how, I told one of the colleagues, no matter how much decorum they had on that House floor, their intent was policy violence. What they did was violence because it was violence to the legacy of the civil rights movement and the sacrifices made with blood and with brutality. It was violence to the Black communities who now will have no voice in our political process to address their grievances, to be heard as equal members of the society. It was violence against our future generations who see at this moment.
I have no words for what I'm watching right now. This can't be real.
They are being told that you don't matter, that your voice does not matter, to shut up, sit down, as they love to tell us, as even members in that body. And so what we must do is we must let them know that sometimes our democracy requires disruption. We must put our morals above our manners. We must break decorum if we have to. We cannot have business as usual. I brought an air horn on the House floor because we must sound the alarm for our democracy, because if they come from...
He's trying to be like a preacher.
One of us, they're coming for all of us. So my message to America is that Tennessee is the tip of the spear. But if we don't fight it here, that this is the front line, it will spread across this nation. And so do not give up on the South, but join us in the South, fight with us in the South, help us build infrastructure and help us to resist it here. Because if this is the front line through history, from Reconstruction to the Civil Rights Movement, and once again, it is the front line, and we need your help in the South. Join us, from Alabama to Louisiana to Tennessee to Mississippi. We need Southern solidarity, and we need folks not to give up on us, but to fight with us and let them know that we are standing together in this moment, and that we will, Tennessee may not be a swing state, but we will swing back if you try and kick us and beat us down and bring us backwards in history.
Thank you. Democratic Tennessee State Representative Justin Jones, thank you for taking me to church. Good to see you this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the biggest threat to America right now. This is the racism that America will face. It's the racism from people like this that are calling every single act racist. It's the racism that will lead to reverse racism. The same rhetoric he used to talk about redistricting will be used to talk about CRT, talk about DEI, talk about affirmative action. It is the biggest threat to our country today. So the biggest thing, the best thing we can do to fight back about this is to call it out when we see it, to not give them the moment, not give them the starry moment of being able to talk to half of our country, and for half of our country to fall for it like it did before, many times before in 2020 election and so on. But guys, please subscribe and leave your comments down below. I ask you to subscribe. I don't need your money. I don't need anything. I just want you to subscribe so you can see these videos and you can actually see when events like this happen, so you are well informed and understand just how crazy our world is today. Leave your thoughts down below, and yeah, we'll see you next time.